Is college a scam? That's a question that we all been asking, especially with the accumulation of student loan debt, the majors that we select being in disproportion to the income that we make, is always asking you, having this question, what is college all about, right? Is it about the intangible things that we gain, the relationships, the networking, the fraternities, the sororities, the HBCU experience? But many times we feel like that may not weigh at the same weight it costs us to go attend that university. So tap into today's conversation about, is college a scam? And make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And, we also going to talk about student loan debt a little bit too. So, we're going to get to it here, Black Fly on the Wall. We appreciate you. Much love, and we hope you enjoy the show.
For my brothers never had an ear to hear them. These the bricks for our sisters, help us build it. If I could be a black fly on the wall, I can hear and see it all and have the mind of a god. Black, 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 black. Fly, 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 fly. Black, black, black.
Welcome to another episode of Black Fly on the Wall. It has been a minute, but we are back. And we got some amazing people here with us. Of course, had to bring the amazing back. But I got my boy Pierre. Introduce yourself as my co-host.
Pierre Bless, rapper, entrepreneur, Spread Love Life, Black Fly on the Wall co-host, Spread Love.
Yes, sir. Hey, and we got some new faces, of course, as always, keeping the content fresh and clean. To my left, Zeke, introduce yourself.
What's going on? Ezekiel Walker. I go by Zeke. I'm founder of Awful Words. It's a creative arts boutique where I help people tell their stories.
Absolutely. To my right, Cam, introduce yourself.
How you doing? It's Mr. Rose. Don't really have no good title like everybody else. On Under Rose, Roseland Tattoos. Much. That's about it.
Okay. Good. Well, we have a good conversation today, man. I think earlier in out front, we was talking about this college topic, but also too with all the student loan debt, student loan forgiveness. Is Joe Biden gonna look out for the team? It's a lot of us is like, okay, is college a scam, right? And I think the question itself has so many layers to it, right? Because of course, with college, you can also get other things out from college, right? Outside of just education, you get friendships, you get fraternity, you get sorority, you get networking, you get lifelong things that bond you with people. And sometimes you can't really put a price tag on that. But also too, whenever you get into the weeds and you get that first email, about getting no student loan repayment, you like, I don't know if my degree is really worth that. Right. So my first question is, Zeke, based on your experience with higher education, you also a Winston-Salem State University graduate.
SU,
Ram Pride. Do you feel like college can sometimes be looked at as a scam?
I think it really, thank you for the question. I really think it depends on what you're bringing yourself. Like, what are you bringing to the college? Because if you are in college, it feels like public school education to me.
Yeah.
Where if you go to class, you can take the lessons in, you can do the homework, you can come back, you can get a grade for that homework, and you can pass that class. Mm-hmm. But if you're not interested in that class, if you don't really care about that class, you're just doing the work to pass that class.
Right.
And for me, I feel like a lot of people can go to college. And if you take that approach to college, that you're just trying to pass the class to get to the next semester, to get to the next point, to get to the next whatever, then I feel like it can be a scam because you're not really investing in this college experience itself.
For sure.
For me, I invested in the culture way more than education.
Absolutely.
I skipped class many a time, and I'm proud of that. If it was 70 degrees outside, you already know.
It's a breezeway.
We're not going to class.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you learn so much more. You get game from that. You build camaraderie. You build community from that.
The intangible things that you gain.
The intangibles. And for me, I've always valued intangibles much more than what I could have learned in a classroom. Now, don't get me wrong. There's still professors that are dope, like Dr. Michelle Lewis is my favorite professor at Winston-Salem State. There's plenty of professors that leave that invest in you more than that would have been a public school, in my opinion, at HBCU, because they see you for who you are. They see your natural Black talent, and they want to extract that talent from you.
Absolutely.
More than public schools do. But I feel like if you just go to class for the class itself and you're not investing in the culture and the community of where you're at, then it could be like a scam because you feel like you graduated, you got this piece of paper, it says you're validated to do X amount of work. But if you don't have those connections, and if you don't have experiences, and if you don't have just a level of coolness to you, you know what I'm saying? I feel like you're not going to have a lot of success outside of college because you only invested in the process of going to school.
Yes. That was well said, bro. I agree with that too, because it's like, it's hard to say like a place that gave you so many intangibles. Like, you know, you get your personality, being at a HBCU, it's cool. You get the way that you speak, you get the way that you socialize, you get the way that you go about life many times, specifically from a HBCU. And so it's hard to say, like, it's hard to put a price tag on what it will cost you to have that experience. Because let's say, for instance, you know, you leave out of school just from your undergraduate career and you have, let's say, $40,000 in student loan debt. Sometimes your perspective on whether college is a scam is based on whether you have to pay for it or not. So we're going to get into that too, on student loans versus your parents paying for you to go to school versus scholarships, and how that affects your perspective. But Cam, whenever you hear the initial question of, is college a scam? What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like I have a different opinion.
Good.
You guys.
Let's hear it.
It's the same, because I get what you guys are saying about the culture and things like that. But let's like dive into what college is. So college is literally like a written agreement of someone sitting there and saying, if you go here and you invest in this for 4 years, when you leave out, we're going to give you $40,000 a year. So it just depends on your major. So say if you pick a major and you said this major, I don't think anyone really gives you the actual breakdown of what $40,000 is a year. So it can sit there and say, like, you can see the numbers, and the numbers can be right in front of your face. Me, I went to a private school. I went to St. Aug.
Okay.
And then I got my 2 masters in A&T. 2 different schools in the same sense, but they both were HBCU. They were both HBCUs. St. Aug is kind of on that, getting pushed out right now because they have some things going on.
Right.
But let's like I said, diving into it when we think about it. So you literally say, okay, I picked this major and I'm going to get $40,000 a year. Granted, I might not even get a job when I leave from this major, for this major. That's like me coming to you, bringing like an actual negotiation. If I brought a negotiation to you and told you, you're going to owe me way more money. You're going to owe me around maybe $100,000, $80,000 when you leave from this experience. But I'm going to get you $40,000 at the end of the year. It sounds okay.
It's a bad deal.
It's a bad deal. It's really like going into a car place and they're telling you like, well, this car is high and these monthly payments are going to be even higher. But you get your car at the end of the day, kind of like what we talked about. It's crazy to say that, because knowing that, I still want my kids to actually go to college from the things that you guys have said. Like, you become a different person. Like, I've seen the experience of people that have went to college and the people that haven't went to college. It's like, it's something like they really don't know how to, some people really don't know how to actually move.
Right. You don't have to really navigate through life.
Yeah. Until you get to college, like you learn you meet these people from different places, DC, New York, this, that, and the third. So if you come from the country, like I'm from Greensboro, but I moved down to the country. But when I got to college, I was able to see the people from Philly, Jersey, this, that, and the third, seeing how they move differently, speak differently. And it made me learn how to adapt in a room full of different people. But when you don't have that kind of quality, it makes it so like when you get into the world, you kind of freeze up when you're around it. Or you might even divert from those type of people. Like somebody speaks differently from you, and you're like, oh yeah, they're aggressive. Like and they not even be aggressive.
Right. You learned that at school.
Yeah, because then you like people from Jersey or New York, they speak a little bit more aggressively than people from down south. Down south, we say hey and we open up doors and we do nice things. I had literally my girlfriend is from Detroit, and she had to tell me never look a Detroit person in the face, like never make eye contact.
That's crazy, Detroit.
Yeah, she like don't make eye, and I didn't believe her until I was shopping one day and this guy had a Michigan sweater on. And I looked him dead in his face. And I was like, went over to talk to him about like a football, because Michigan is one of my favorite football teams. And he immediately was like, "Ooh, boy, I thought you had problems with me the way you was looking at me." From I was like, yo, she told me that. So, from the aspect of, is it worth it? I don't think so. I think trades are more valuable than we give them credit for.
Absolutely.
And me being in education and teaching education, I was like I said, I was an adjunct professor as well. And I thought I was gonna go in and change the world. Like when I went in, I thought, even being an actual teacher at a middle school, I thought I was gonna go in and change the world, until somebody told me, "No, this is what you're gonna do. We have a rubric for you already to follow. Now follow this rubric. You can put some tweaks and things in it, but you're gonna teach it the way that we need you to teach it." So it makes you ask the question:
Is it a scam?
Is it all planned?
Because, like, P, you can chime in as well, but because, like you were saying, like, where is the autonomy? Where is the customization to it? I think my experience of, especially going into school in 2008, things have changed a little bit now. But by the time I got finished with undergrad and graduate school, I told myself that was 6.5 years. I said I could have done this in 3 years. Like, that's how I personally felt. As from high school to age 22, I had finished my master's at 24, 23, 24. I was like, I could have done this in 3 years.
Yeah.
So I felt like the first couple years of college were just like warming you up, getting you ready to get into your major and all of that. How about we eliminate that with preparedness in high school? You go into what you know you're going to get involved in as far as your career within year one. But your second semester, you should be focusing and going down that pathway. Yeah. And in your last year and a half, 2 years, you're graduating from school, you mastered your craft, you're going to your next school, because there's such a big push for graduate school now, right? That's part of the market. That's part of the machine almost is to really, really get people going and to in school. And so, and we're going to talk about trades, because I'm a big proponent of, and I think those are great, because you know, the buildings that we walk into, the cars that we drive are many times ran and controlled by people who have trades and advanced degrees and those type of things.
If you even looked at wealth, do you guys follow wealth?
Yes.
They don't even now when you're a hiring process, the bachelor's degree is considered close to a high school degree. So it's not even really.
I was thinking about that myself, man. That's a real thing. That's a perspective that I've had for a long time. That now it's 2024, but shoot, since like 2014 and like past that, it's like the high school degree, the GED has become the bachelor, and then the master's become, the bachelor's and the master's. But it's like, to everybody's point, the question, is college a scam? I feel like it's an advantage or a disadvantage based on how you use it. Like, whether that's, if you use it for culture, I know guys who went to college and they wasn't the highest, they like on dean's list or anything like that. But they took advantage of the culture and created Deuce Fold. It was a team created Deuce Fold, or you create Next Level and you become a 6-figure or 7-figure person based off what you do and your connects. Like Next Level. Me and him, this is business now. Like, that's one of my best friends. Like, I met him and we create more things outside of college, meeting other people. It's about, like, if I were to stay home where I'm from in Albemarle, I couldn't meet some of these enlightened gentlemen that I came across. The community that I know now, how to teach people, how to look at the world different. Like, it puts us in a different space. Like, you could come from a dark place, and now that's what college does. It's like you have your choice. Now, what can you create from all these geographical energies that you had no access to before?
Absolutely. Yeah.
These minds are here now. So you can be one of these big minds. You can make something out of this community, or you can just go to class and get out in the corporate world or the medical world. And I also think, too, people, it's 2 points I have. People choose their degrees wrong. It's like some people go.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, and you jump in and now you can't get any money because you picked to
special education.
Special education. You picked that. So now it's like, no,
sometimes
I have nothing to go to.
Qualities, this shine. But can I say something else?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's part of the scam, is because we're apart. We're doing it when we're 18 years old. When we're just out of the home, out of the house. We don't really know nothing about life. We ain't really got our worldview established yet. And then they tell you, all right, well, what's your decision to study for the next 4 years that's going to guide you for the rest of your life as an 18-year-old?
Right.
That's a big ass. I mean, that's a big question. That's a very big question.
Right.
So for me, I chose psychology because I was always interested in how people thought and why we think the way we do and the motivations that we have for the things we end up doing. And that fit me. But
Was that a good pick?
I was about to say, if you could go back looking now, and would you go back, what would you change?
I would do psychology again because I love learning about just our motivations and why we do what we do.
Okay.
I love that about just the human nature. I love that just learning about that.
Okay.
I did social work for about 10 years after that because that's what you're supposed to do. I also wrote books at the same time about the culture, about African American, our culture, but I don't think I would do anything differently because I think that's what led me here. And I don't regret, I don't live with regrets or anything like that, but I do think if I would have done things smarter, I would have made more connections with the people in my psychology group.
Yeah.
Instead of rocking on Fridays and Saturdays and Thursdays and, like having a great time in college. Because a lot of my college experience was having a great time in college.
Can I ask you just a question?
Yeah.
When you said that, I think you said around like because you're 18, you really don't know how to pick what you want to do. Do you think that comes from our actual culture of our parents not knowing? Or because I know a lot of people that have had that guidance. And I feel like sometimes we get into the fact of, I just want to let my kid do what they want to do and be who they want to be because it just sounds better.
You know where we come from? This generation that we in, the millennials, our parents, what are they, the baby boomers? So they were hard working. So what was put to them, what looked like heaven to them was like get a degree because we couldn't get them. Yeah. So now our whole generation was pushing to get to this degree. And it's the most prized possession in the home. Yes. And now we just got degrees sitting everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And there's more things that's to be uncovered there. But like it's another route we could have went to where we know that trades like actually hold value too. I also think we're in a place to where we get these jobs from our bachelor or whatever. But in 2024, you have to have a side hustle to survive.
Because of how inflation. And even with you saying that, just thinking back on how we just go to get a degree, like if you look at the people that actually, they want to be a doctor, want to be a nurse, like have you ever watched them people in college? Like even if they're your friends, when, like you said, you were going out, you could be talking to someone and they'd be like, well, I'm going back to my room to go study.
That's a fact. That's a good point. I mean, that was me.
Yeah, exactly.
Focused.
What
couldn't hang out like that.
And how they wanted to do it.
True. Yeah.
And most of us are in college just floating. Like you said, it took you 2 whole years before you get into your major. So this when you get into your second year and you just going to, I got 2 algebras, or I got 2 this, I got 2 that, I got to knock out. And then they say, well, around this time, you need to pick your major. And you're like, pick my major. Just here to go to school.
Exactly.
Especially if, like, for me, I was an athlete. So I was just there to go to school. And they told me I had to keep a certain GPA in order to play sports. So I was like, well, I'm going to play sports. I'm going to do sports management. And then I was sitting in sports management and I was like, this hard. I don't know nothing that's going on. So that's when I said, I'm going to do art. I could draw since I was little. Let's go there. Did art, kept high grades because it was art. Then when I got to the end, it was like, well, what jobs can you do as art? Museum, teacher. Asked my professor, is there anything else? Like, I mean, it's not really a lot of things. And my professor had went to Duke and got her doctorate in art, all of those things. And they really didn't have too much of a list for me to go to, things to go to after I finished college. That's when I was scared. That's when I was like, I really don't have any other options because of what I picked.
Right, because whenever you in college, like you're in a bubble. You know what I mean? Like it's not real life. You can have real life experiences. You can experience deaths. You can experience heartbreak. You can experience these losses. But whenever you really think about it, like college is like one big fun life. It's almost like the system protects you from it's safe, right? And so like with that safety doesn't come like perseverance or tenacity that you need to think about like real life problems and what's going on in real life. And so anytime people graduate and they get this ha moment of like, oh, you know, I have $60,000 in debt, but I'm going to make $42,000 a year. Like Zeke, you mentioned earlier, like of the selection of degrees. I'm a big proponent of many degrees need to be illegal for somebody to major. And it needs to be illegal. But, you know, like, because when you really think about it, if the cost of the degree is not going to match what that person, the job availability and the salary, you should not charge the same amount for an accounting degree than you do a degree of special education. I believe the cost of college should be based on what you major in.
Did you know you were going to be an OT the whole time?
Yeah.
So you knew that you had to go to school again.
Well, you know, talking about preparedness, like my mom, she has her master's degree. She's worked in education for a long period of time. And so,
That's good.
so she was a single parent, but she set a standard for my siblings and I on like what college is going to be, how you're going to perform, and then what you're going to do when you get out. Like, it wasn't a discussion about you just go off and have a good time and then have fun.
Yeah.
Nah, she was on Banner Rams.
Yeah.
She had the password, which is like this.
Oh, man, she was on Banner Rams.
She was on Banner Rams. It's like an online system that can go and see what your grades are. So she checking every semester, every year. It's a conversation, you know what I mean? And there was a standard placed on me and my siblings. We all went to Winston-Salem State. I went first, and my sister and my brother. And it was a standard set on this is what it's going to be and this is what it's not going to be. And so I think that structure really put pressure on me. Was it stressful? Yes, but it was beneficial in the long run for me because I had to have a plan 3 years ahead of time on what it was. So my freshman year, my mom went with me and met with my advisors like before school even started and was like, he's going to OT school. What does he need to be taking? What semesters does he need to be taking it? And then what does he need to prepare? Funny story. I ain't gonna call this professor out, but I've had some close. Oh yeah, I was like, hey. I'm not gonna call this professor out. Me and my mom, she remembers this. We talk about it. She went with me, you know, single black woman, myself, and the professor, white male, told me and my mom that the likelihood of him getting into OT school is probably not going to happen. It's hard to get into that program. She was like, well, you know, I don't know what you're talking about, but that doesn't really apply to my son. And that's a conversation, and that's a thing that happened that me and her talked about consistently throughout college of you always have to keep in mind, like, not everybody has the same goals as you, and somebody is always secretly betting on your downfall or betting for you to lose. Yeah. And so I didn't have necessarily a chip on my shoulder, but I had a mentality of a prove somebody wrong type mentality. So I went hard in all my classes, made sure I got into OT school. I got into OT school on a full scholarship, actually. And went to OT school and finished, knocked that out, and been an OT for the last 10 years. But I think having that structure coming as a 17, 18-year-old shifted my complete landscape on what it was, because I wasn't able to go to college and to figure it out. I had to go to college with a plan and really do that. And my mom replicated that times 3.
It's crazy that you say that, because like listening to you, like you went to college knowing like not just I'm going to finish, it's like what I'm doing after.
Yes.
So let's go to college too.
Yeah.
And we're like most black men, we're in college and we're making sure that we don't go back to where we're from.
Oh yeah. I had a mentality too.
Like I know like most of the people that I went to school with, like to be real about it, all of my friends that were back at home had passed away. Like I don't have none of my friends from back home that are still like alive.
Yeah, like we're late.
Yeah, so like when we was I'm in college, and I remember I ended up on, what's that thing when your grades too bad?
Academic probation.
I know. Probation. I ended up on academic probation, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I said,
do you want to go back home?
Go back home. Like,
do you go back home? Like, and there's people in the perception too. Like we're all from, where you from, Z?
Charlotte, right here.
Charlotte, okay. Mm-hmm. So like we all have these pockets of where we're from and what it looks like. And you've seen people say, oh, I'm taking a break, but I'm going back. And then you see the probability of that person going back. They never go back. You know what I'm saying? They never go back to school because it gets so cozy. So it's kind of like, to hit on it, I'm pretty sure everybody can relate of like knowing those people that either dropped out of college, didn't go to school, and they're getting involved in drugs, prison, babies, all of these things right before their time. And we also have to ask ourselves, was that cost of college worth it if we didn't have to experience those type of positions or to be in those type of positions of going to school? Because it's almost like school gave us almost like a break or a bridge to life. You know what I mean? Versus staying in your hometown, trying to figure it out, getting caught up in things that you're not supposed to. College was well worth it in that case in point, right? Of not being able to go to jail, get shot, get caught up in drugs and all those other things that a lot of times Black men and women get involved in whenever they don't have anything that's stimulating their mind.
And it's crazy you said that part too, because I was actually one of the percentage that we talk about. So I was in college until my senior year, up until my senior year, and my son was born. And I had the choice either to transfer to run track at A&T or go home to help raise my son. It's crazy that it happened this way. A guy that was running track for, I don't know if you guys heard about it, a guy that was running track for A&T ended up having a heart attack in tryouts. So the coach got fired. When the coach got fired, he said he told my mother, he said he can come here, but there's no guarantee that he'll get a scholarship because I'm not going to be the coach. So I chose to go back home, stay home for 5 years. I stayed home for 5 years and I helped, I stayed out of school for 5 years. I stayed home for 2 years and I helped raise my son. And then one day I woke up and said, I want to go back to college. But everybody else was laughing at that thought. But I say that because you brought up the points of lifing. Like,
life be life.
Life be lifing. So you get home and you start to experience money. You start to experience money. Money comes responsibilities and this, that, and the third. But if you're in a situation that you really don't have to pay a lot, you just experience money and you tell yourself, do I want to go back to college? Because in college, you don't have any money. Like, so the majority of the part in college,
correct,
you were broke.
I don't know what these new kids are.
Right.
They may look behind the computer, but
exactly.
But back then in our day, for sure,
we didn't have money. We was eating peanut butter jelly noodles. If our mama sent us $20 to get a pizza, it was a great weekend.
That's facts.
It was a great weekend.
And I think it comes down to this too, like it gives scammy, but I think it comes on the preparation. Most of us from this generation are not prepared. They're not at home telling us this. Our parents from this generation, millennials, they're kicking us out. And I think that's a mistake. It's like you going, most of us are men, here, you know what I'm saying? Like you going to the army, you gonna go to school, you're gonna get a job, but you leaving. And like us, if we went to school, it's like, you're not coming back home. Shoot, I was on academic probation. I was home working for the summer. My mama busted her ass to get me back going that next semester because my friends was hustling, you know what I'm saying? Doing stuff in the streets, all that. And it's like, it was an easy way to fall into that. You know what I'm saying? And I went to Europe about, it was 2015, did a Euro trip. And I was chopping up some knowledge with some guys out in, where was we at? Out in Amsterdam. And he was telling me how they get out of school and they take a leap year and work. You know what I'm saying? To get normalized to what it's like out in the world, then they go to school. They might even leave the country and go somewhere to work. But I think that helps them. That's why they might be better financially in other countries and on like grade scales too. Because we just get thrown out and we don't know what the hell to do.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's like black and white, yo. It's like high school is a joke and college is serious. Quick. So it's kind of like you experience this like this vortex of life where you've literally been able to skate your way through high school. Like here's people that go past high school, graduate high school, cross the stage and all that barely went to class.
Oh yeah.
Like they memorized the answers to a test.
That's me.
And high school was never really a true challenge. Now you may have like some public schools, like one school in North Carolina, Durham Public School of the Arts, right? Durham School of the Arts. Like that's like a public private school where like you have to take on an art. So you have to learn how to play the piano, the violin, drawing, app design, UX design, front end. You have to do some type of artistic thing along with your studies, but they are actually preparing like the next generation for higher education. So they come into their university of their choosing studious, you know what I mean, as with a challenge. But it's like in high school, if you really weren't challenged like that, and then all of a sudden you got Mrs. Smith or Professor Smith saying, you got a 5-page paper to write, and this is like your second week of school, you like, hold on now. I ain't asked for all of this.
Hey, you were speaking on art. They got Joe Biden. He just what are they saying? Like the Art Institute. Everybody who went to college and went to the Art Institutes. He's clearing their loans out. Like I'm like, do y'all know anybody who actually has had theirs forgiven?
Yes.
This seems like a crazy thing. Right
I do. Let me ask you. I do know somebody. My mom had her student loans forgiven.
How? Like what?
Almost there.
So like, look, I got to get the information. But
what did she do?
she woke up one morning in the family chat. She said she filled something out on a federal site, whatever it was. Like she's always been an own it person. So if she see an email or a program she need to go fill out a form for, she did it. She did it. She had her student loans cleared from her undergrad at Pembroke, her master's program, and she took out student Parent Plus loans from my brother and my sister. So she also had loans for being a Parent Plus loan, a co-signer for my brother and sister, and all of it got wiped out 100%.
In one day.
In one day. Peep the background, man. You know where we at. We're at Grindhouse Studios in Charlotte, North Carolina. Black Fly on the Wall's new home, by the way. Make sure you tap in with Grindhouse Studios at grindhousestudios.com. Learn more about their offerings and what they have and what they're bringing to the Charlotte community. And not only Charlotte, but the North Carolina community. So for my creatives in Raleigh, Charlotte, Durham, Fayetteville, wherever, from the West to the East Coast, make sure you tap in with Grindhouse Studios and book your studio time right now and let them know that Black Fly on the Wall sent you. Much love. In one day.
I had to ask you a question too.
Your email popped up, 0.
Wow. My question to you is, this is like a question for all of y'all actually. Do y'all think we are even taught the right thing in college? Like when I say taught the right thing, let's go to it. We're taught math, we're taught Spanish, we're taught biology, we're taught physical science. Y'all don't ever think about why we ain't taught like how to buy a house, taxes, credit score, like all of those things. I feel like college leaves out the most important thing that we need.
That's the scam.
And me and my friend, me and my boy, he went to Winston too. He was working at UNCG. I was at Guilford. And we tried to come up with a course. We tried to come up with a course.
A life course.
A life course. It got shut down.
By the school?
Got shut down. Like we tried to pitch it to the school. We tried to.
That's the scammy side of things.
It's a scam. Like, what is the benefit? What is the benefit of a college student knowing about real estate if they realize that as a college student, I don't have any debt, but I also don't have any income. So if I can generate income, establish my credit score without ever having any debt, it'll probably be 10 times easier for me to purchase a home or purchase a rental property.
Multiple homes.
And buy multiple homes, right? But how is that beneficial to the university? If a college student is doing that and focusing on that, the likelihood of him staying in school is slim to none.
That's the scam of America right there. You know, like
if
don't go
you're
there.
making $500,000 a year on real estate, why are you in undergraduate going to college and not believing and bought into the program or the process of what you're doing?
But you're not going to be there. You're going to be literally sitting there and saying, I could be investing this money in stock.
Yeah,
I could be doing this, that, and the third.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. Like college is about, for me, like I said, it was about the intangibles for me. And if you're going to go to college, even in 2024, 2025, 2026, you have to know now that like, a lot of things are on YouTube. A lot of things, you can go
Udemy.
You know what I'm saying? You can
get on Udemy.
You can go to your local shop, for your local welder and find out how to weld if you really want to find out how to weld. You know, there are people in your community that you can connect with. Like the internet has made the world so much smaller that you can find out the information that you need to find out without having to go and wait for 4 years to find it out.
Correct.
Anything, and across genres. So I think college itself is an antiquated like structure and infrastructure, but it does at the same time, I have to be honest, it does give you a sense of camaraderie when you are a young person trying to figure out your way in the world.
Absolutely.
It does give you that necessary community of other people that don't maybe not know where they're going either.
Absolutely.
Or people that do know where they're going. You can latch on to them and y'all may never know what that connection would bring. So it's less of a scam to me. It's more of a setup. Like it can set you up for failure. It can set you up for success.
I feel like it's, like you said, I feel like it's our elite year. Like it's our moment and grace because I be missing college now still.
Oh, for sure.
because that's
Yeah, like, it was a grand.
life was
It was a grand.
The refund checks were nice.
You just
See, that's the problem right there.
you go to the cab, you come back to the room, you kick it with your people, you do some homework. Like it's when life was easy. Like
Correct. And it's almost to the point where, unfortunately, it's hard to say this until you reach a certain level of wealth. You may never experience that euphoria again, of where you're able to wake up, do what you want to do, go where you want to go, experience almost what you want to experience. Because even whenever you were in college, you realize that your experiences are have limitations, but you still can choose your experience.
exactly.
If you want to go, it's 72 degrees and the breezeway is popping, the DJ is out there, the sundresses is out.
class.
You know what time it is. You know what I mean?
No class.
There's no class. You can actually choose that experience. And many times now in life, many people, not everyone, wake up, they're going to the job, they're communicating with people who they really, really may not want to communicate with, and they don't really experience that level of freedom. So my next question is transitioning the conversation to student loan debt. It's a major topic worldwide every day now. You get on IG, you see it. Other than the Drake and Kendrick stuff, that's definitely taking over. It's student loan talk.
That's definitely taking over.
That's definitely taking over student loan talk. But simple question. I'm gonna start. We're gonna go around the circle here. I have circle areas. Do you think Joe Biden should forgive all student loan debt?
Personally, I feel like he should forgive mine. My student debt so high that it looked like I went to school to be a doctor. And it's crazy to say this.
That's real.
Are you over 100? Because you got two masters.
He got two masters.
Boy, we up there.
What made okay? So
We up there.
okay, so what we're gonna do is break. So this is your pitch. But what made you? Do you feel like, man? I'm telling you, I got a strong feeling about private schools too, especially the private HBCUs and all that. But that goes back to my philosophy of college should be charged based on your degree that you choose and where you go. So, prime example would be if you're trying to go be a teacher in Washington, D.C., they should look and see what is the salary for a teacher in Washington, D.C. For a college student that goes to Howard. This is how much this student should be charged based on this degree. Now, if they change majors and become an accounting major, that cost goes up. But there should not be a flat free fee for somebody who is an accounting major versus somebody who may be a teacher. Because we all know that person's trajectory of being able to become a CPA, go to Wall Street, make 1.5, 2 million a year is a completely different experience of a teacher that is making $55,000, $60,000 a year in inner city Washington, D.C., where that career is admirable to say the least, but is not the same experience within a 4 or 5 year trajectory.
It should be obtainable for your career.
It should match your career.
Yeah, it should be. I can put this money aside to pay on my loan.
Correct.
But it can actually match. For me, like you said, so most of mine was scholarship. And it's crazy to say that. I've had scholarship.
You went to a private school undergrad?
Yeah, I went to private school undergrad. And I had scholarships on up to my junior year. When I came back, I did probably like a year and a half. That's why I ain't gonna get on saying all right now. But,
Don't kick them while they're down.
I ain't gonna kick them while they're down. But I feel like I should be able to call them and say, "Hey, my school getting shut down for stealing money. So what we gonna do about this? Because it doesn't add up the amount of money that I have for student loan." Then I went to A&T. I didn't get to really experience Aggie pride like that. Sorry, Darren Brand. I know you're gonna see this and get mad at me. That's my dog.
See, I'm an Aggie too. We got an Aggie in the building.
So he I didn't get to experience that, but I know like my school rates were completely different, like completely lower. And it was crazy because they had so much more. Like, and y'all know this from going to Winston and this, that, and the third. Like our smaller schools, they're high, but they don't have the same thing as the higher HBCUs that are actually cheaper. And because we're in our environment, we don't really see the difference until we go see our friends that's at those schools. And then
I didn't even know that actually. Like, yeah.
So like a school is going to be priced out based on the amount of students they have, the amount of professors they have, and then based on that ratio, and then also budgeting whether they're part of the UNC system and whatnot. And then that's why people be laughing at him, but that's why Dave Ramsey be like, he got these rules for his kids.
Yeah. My school was 30,000
a year. That's crazy.
No, not a year.
30,000 a year per semester.
Per semester.
So 68,000 a year. The private schools. You gotta get rid of the private schools.
It was like probably like $2,000 cheaper than going to Duke.
And you know what's crazy? I think you would have had a better experience like at my school.
And there was one of mine, but y'all didn't have a track team during the time that I went.
But I'm sure you had a better experience at A&T than you did at St. Aug.
I can't say.
How long were you there?
I had fun there.
Okay, I got you.
I mean, I was an adult when I got to.
Yeah, because you took a 5 year.
I took that 5 years.
yeah,
so when I got into grad school, I was about my business. Like,
Right.
I was going.
That's different.
Yeah, my little brother had just got like my first year in grad school. My little brother was a freshman at A&T. So whenever I would go to something, and I would see him there, I would be like, "Yeah, bro, it's time for you to go home because that's your baby brother that's over there having the ball. Like, you need to go do some adult stuff." So, and I had like rent and everything else. So like when I went back to school, even when I went back to undergrad for my senior year, I was moving completely different because of those 5 year breaks. That 5 year break in between.
Mature.
Yeah, I matured. Right. I was around people that already knew what they wanted to do. Like they had a plan. They was like, okay. But it was crazy because I remember me and my friends sitting there having a conversation. And we was like, yeah, when I make this 40,000, when I make this 50,000, I'm going to do this, that, and the third. And we were speaking those numbers as if they were such large numbers. Because to our community and the people that we grew up around, those were large numbers. I remember going back to why I kind of ended up quitting being a teacher. I was a teacher and I was getting a tattoo. And I was getting a tattoo. I'm going to speed through this story. I was getting a tattoo and the dude that was tattooing me was 24 years old. And I knew I was paying him $800 that day. And I'm like, man, that's a lot for my check. I only get $4,000 at the end of the month. So I'm paying him $800 and he kept saying, it's a slight day for me. It's a slight day for me. So I had to ask. I said, $800, this is a slight day. So I said, bro, I don't mean to be in your business and ask about your money, this, that, and the third. But why you keep saying this is a slight day? He said, well, I work 4 days a week. He said, I usually make around 12 to 15. And I said,
A day.
A day. I said,
A day?
Yeah. I said, so you only work 4 days? I said, because they make you? He said, no, it's by choice. I said, all right, now I got to ask. I really had to get in this business. I said, how much you make a year? And he said, yeah, I'm 24. I made like 24. He was like, I made like 2,400 last year. I said,
2,400?
240,000.
Okay.
Sorry about that. 240,000 last year. I immediately went back to work. My boss, he saw it in my face. He said, Cameron, it's time to renew your contract. Are you thinking about, renewing? I said, nah. I was like, nah, I got to figure some
Did you pick the skill up of tattooing or did that moment right there was like, this is what I want to do?
So in college, it's another funny story. In college, I just knew I was going to the league. But I didn't realize.
For what sport?
For football.
Okay.
Because my uncle went to the league. My uncle played for Oregon. That was the first school that I went to. My uncle went to the NFL. He played for the Panthers and the Saints. So I just knew, I was like, it's in my blood. Like, and this guy that was so much better than me and my guy talked about him. He was so much better than me. He had a pro day. Only 2 teams came. And the 2 teams weren't interested in him. So I knew in that moment, if he's this good, and I know he's that much better than me. I was on the sideline. I remember it was kickoff, and I was looking. The very next time after the game, I ain't come back to practice. I picked up a tattoo machine because I had started to see it up there. I started dabbling in it because I wanted to make some fast money. I was making money on campus, this, that, and the third, but when I got into my actual job, I stopped doing it. But when that guy had said that to me, and he told me how much he made from just doing that, I realized I was setting my standards way too low. I was okay with the 40,000 because my mom, that was the first thing I remember when I quit, my mom, she had kept saying like, you should have never quit that teacher job. You should never quit that teacher job.
Yeah, there's a security.
She was like, it was $40,000 and then you had benefits.
Right.
And it took, I think it was like literally like, I think it was probably like a year ago. One of her coworkers, she my mom actually works in the school system too. She works at college, like it's a college down there in Greenville.
Okay.
And it was one of her coworkers. He literally said to her, he said, "I don't think you know how much money your son makes doing tattoos." And she was like, "No, I really don't." And like he brought up my prices and then he did the math for her and he actually broke it down to her. And she called me and she was like, "Boy, you better keep doing that tattoo."
Because you remember when she ingrained that in you. And that's what that generation with the baby boomers, they thought that the degrees was
Secure
everything.
Secure
Everything.
Right. Because you look at the generation before that, right? Like that, we're talking about 2 generations removed.
They couldn't get a job.
or 2, right? And we're talking about
Think about it.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. We're just talking about this.
It's right there.
The high then after World War II ended, there was a high influx of factory jobs that were filled. So like our perspective on employment and security came from always maintaining a job that was seen to be valuable. Yeah. But then as machine learning and all those things took over, people were laid off, right? And so now our grandparents are always talking about security, go get a job for the state or the federal level. Because why? Because they experienced it, or they experienced their parents being laid off because of changes within the progression of life, machine learning, right? And we're going through something like that right now with AI.
Yeah.
So it history always repeats itself on scarcity and availability. It's a hunter-gatherer mentality. So we have to always be looking to revamp ourselves. Even when it comes down to this college stuff, you should be going into college with a mentality of, okay, how am I going to make myself the most diverse person coming out of this experience, no matter what your degree is? How are you going to stand out? How are you going to stand out up in comparison to your colleague? And then after the machine learning and factory jobs, it's like, go get a job for the state, go get a job for the feds. And then now your parents experience working for the state and the security of what that brings, the benefits, the health insurance, all of those things. And so now whenever they say, okay, they see you getting a job of 40, 50,000, well, they've been in the same house for 15, 20 years with an $800 mortgage. Yeah. That same house now for us is almost $2,000.
I still don't know how she did it.
So that's what I'm saying. So going to get a job,
it don't add up.
Isn't the same money as it was for our parents, 25, 30, 40 years ago. And so now we're in a shift right now when it comes to colleges. And I think we have a shorter period of time to adjust. Back then they were building machines to put in the factories and they were building machines, but now AI is something that they're coding and building, right? So now we have to figure out, based on your job, is your job that one that AI can take over or diminish? And if so, that should then affect a high schooler's decision-making on what degree that they're going to take whenever they go to college.
That was my question. And it can be short and sweet. I know we probably got to be coming up on time.
Yeah, we have a few minutes.
But what would you think, I don't know if everybody has kids, but that's where I want to push it. What degree would you tell your kid to major in if you could tell them, this is a top 3, we know they're going to get a job because this is what people need to know. What degree would that be? Well, actually, I'm going to start with myself. Daughter, I would say, I'm in the medical field. I would say nursing is promising. And I think for a guy or a female, IT.
I honestly would want them to study what I did. Not even just psychology, but study something about the mind and the way that people behave, because you learn to know yourself better. And I know therapy is dope right now, BetterHelp, and other companies are doing therapy, and it's a beautiful thing because our culture has needed therapy for a long time because we went through the most traumatic stuff on the earth. But I think learning, I think Winston taught us a lot about people that were majors in nursing and psychology. HBCUs teach you how to take care of the community. They teach you how to take care of the village. And I think as long as they're majoring in something that's village focused, village that take, then I'm cool with it. It don't matter if it's in hospitality, because hospitality is going to be us forever. Nursing is going to be us because Black folks know how to take care of Black folks. We know how to take care of everybody, but we definitely know how to take care of each other. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So as long as it's something community focused, I'm cool with it.
Okay. Me, I have a daughter on the way that's being born in August. So this is a real question for me. But I would definitely say engineering. I believe women can, function and be high level in tech, just like men are. And I think for me, I would definitely push her towards software engineering, UX design. Women are many times with feminine energy are able to display things in a different light, make things look better artistically.
Let me paint a picture for that too. That's a 200,000 and up. These degrees that he's speaking.
Yeah. So I mean, even with a bachelor's degree, it was understood now that software engineering is the #1 career in the world right now. So it's like if you listen to this and you have a high school kid and you see that he can build things, or you see that he can design things, or you see that he or she is good at understanding concepts and likes to solve problems, whether it's through Legos, video games, Fortnite, whatever it may be. I think parents have to look at what their kids do and then say, how can I create the adult child, like build a child? Like what does my adult child look like doing those same type of things? If he loves Fortnite, won't you push him towards software engineering? Like the people who build Fortnite are software engineers. Then they go into a specialty of video gaming. So if you see that this person he making $500 a month off of Fortnite, or $2,000 a month off of this and that, and it's software engineer, push them towards that. So I would say software engineer for me. I think also too, have an understanding, awareness, and who she is going to be like key, because that's going to grow with her as she goes through challenges and barriers of being a woman or being a Black woman, understanding who she is, gaining awareness, mindfulness, all those different things.
It's important.
Planting the seeds in her subconscious so that whenever she is transitioning out into the world, she knows who she is. On top of that, she has the education that you
can build a genius based around their personalities and characteristics, also guiding them into, we know where the money is.
Correct. Correct. And that's how my mom pushed me, because being an occupational therapist 10 years ago was the #2 profession in the country at the time. So thinking ahead and making decisions 10 years or 10 years ahead of time has paid off dividends for me too.
I will add too, that's how I got into IT. I seen 2 of my cousins, Eric and Jeremy, out. One of them went to Georgia Tech. One of them took the VAR route, which was like 2 year, and ended up getting the bag over 6 figures. They doing their thing. That put me into IT because I seen people doing it. Since we were first generational, my sister went, but I didn't know how to navigate and pick the right degree. So I took somebody else's lead.
Well, what about you? So
me, I'm already a father of 4. So I have 2 boys and I have 2 girls. So it's a couple of routes that I plan on taking. My oldest son is 9 years old, and he does the exact same thing you said. He built Roblox, all those types of things. I see my daughter, she's more artistic. Like she can draw, she can do things like that. So it's kind of a tricky subject for me, because on one hand, you have basically the family business. You have tattooing, you have the new things that we're dabbling in with permanent
freckles,
permanent makeup and things like that.
Eyebrows.
There's so many things, and with those things are 6-figure things. So you have the route of the family business, but sometimes when you're around the family business, you don't end up wanting to do the family business. So off of those things, like you said, I would love for them to get into architecture.
That's solid.
That's something that
is really good,
because it's something that's never going to leave.
No,
it's never going to leave. We're always going to be building stuff. Stuff is always going to be made. Homes are always going to be made. Like that's something that will always be there. But my main thing is just basically making sure that there's an actual plan put in place, and not being so relaxed to saying, I'm going to just let them do what they want to do. Because as a child, you need direction. And the children that have that direction more so end up in a better situation than the ones that people just say, I just let them do what they wanted to do, because you're still a kid at the end of the day. And if you do what you want to do, it might end up something that you don't want to happen, because you don't really know the consequences of it.
You can mold it in the closest perfect
as close as possible.
Correct. So like, right. We're gonna wrap this up in a couple minutes. So going around, okay, we got to first we're gonna say about the Joe Biden thing. Do you feel like he should forgive student loans?
I definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a kind of like could be reparations equivalent somewhat.
But so I feel like student loans should be forgiven. But my concern is what is the plan after that? Because if we forgive, let's say, $1 billion of student loans today, but the kids of tomorrow are still going and taking out student loans, how are we not back in this position again in 5-10 years? Because there's not like education has not been restructured at the level that it should be. Yeah. Like I feel like the restructuring of education has to start in high school. What does high school curriculum look like? The rigors of it, and then taking it to a level. This is what college looks like. Is there a sliding scale based on how much degrees cost? This is how much professors can charge versus what they can't charge. I mean, not professors, but universities can and cannot charge. And then diving into that. But I would say too, so that's my take on the student loan thing. I know everybody who has student loans are like, heck yeah, that's the only way Biden can get my vote. Until he clear him, what he doing? It would help. Yeah, it'll be very persuasive. So
he failed in the Uber, didn't he? Uber. That's what they said.
He did what?
We good. He said he was in the Ubers and Lyfts since
he wanted to end the companies. Uber,
yeah, like Ubers, Lyfts.
What's the reason behind that?
I don't know. He's trying to pass it. It was on Wealth. That's all I get my sources from. It's like a newspaper. But that's what it said. So,
I gotta look into that.
Yeah, go check that out. That came up the other day.
Well, it could be something too. I know that like with his campaign, and as we wrapping up like the education talk, like his campaign is very big on like removing hidden fees, which is how the airlines now you have to give your money back if they cancel your flight, things like that.
I like that.
There could be something in regards to something with Uber and Lyft with that. But I think too, like to sum this conversation up, thank you all for providing like insight on like, what's your thoughts on college? I think the consensus is around the structure of college, the intangible benefits of going to college and how you visualize that. If you're somebody who goes to college and does not take advantage of the intangible things like joining organizations for your major, gaining friendships, relationships, networking with your professors, going to those career fairs, all of those amazing things that you can be a part of. Like I was heavily involved in Thurgood Marshall. So I was a Thurgood Marshall scholar, did Thurgood Marshall internships and things like that. But if you do not take advantage of that, you may look at it and say, look, I have all this student loan debt, but I don't have anything to show for it. You may look at it as a scam, but somebody who goes and takes on and gets college experience for the abundance of it, you may be like, you know what, even though I got these student loans, it was worth it.
Yeah.
In the end.
Because I still want my kids to go to college.
Yes.
As much things that we've said through this, I still want them to experience that. Right. The same way he said it.
But I think also too is like our generation has to be prepared for whenever our kids go to college, right? I think that starts with education. So like we got 529B plans in North Carolina. You can put $50 a month from wherever they're born up into that, and they have $50,000 for education.
And I feel like that's a part of with our culture where we have so much fight back on it because it's not prepared from the moment that they're born.
Right. Because why is it a norm? I know we got to wrap it up, but why is it a norm for?
Yeah, my fault.
No. This is important. We can cut trim back on other things. But why is it a norm for our culture to automatically think that whenever a kid goes to college, he or she is going to have student loans? Think about that. Wow. That's embedded in our subconscious on there's no love. There's a minimal level of preparedness. Of course, like mom and dad are trying to put food on the table, clothes on your back, provide the bare minimum for you. But why isn't it a priority to save for your kid to go to college? Because that day is one day coming.
I think we're learning the priorities sometimes in real time, to be honest, in my opinion. I did social work for 10 years, and I had to go in homes that I was unfamiliar with, that I would be uncomfortable with, but you have to make yourself comfortable being there because you have to, at the end of the day, you're there to assist somebody to be better today than they were yesterday as a social worker. And that goes in all kinds of different ways and fast as you can do it, but that's what the job is.
I think it's, it could be viewed as like, now that we have this education now too, is like, there's grace given, right, for our parents, right? They were like, again, they were coming from a different generation. They were learning about education in college themselves. Many of them went to school later in life, getting that master's degree at 45, 50 years old. Yeah. But I think now, so not to blame the parents or generation before us, but looking at us now, in closing, we must take on the responsibility of financially preparing to make sure that our children in the next generation, 18 years from now, 15 years from now, are well equipped to be able to go to college freely without the burden of having to worry about student loans. We go to brunches. We got on the drip. We got on the J's. We rock them off-white.
That's a real thing.
We rocking off-white. We got the gold. We got the Louis bags. We got the Chanel bags. You know what I'm saying? The men and the women, right? So it's like we spend, Black people, especially Black folks, we spend our money on what we want to spend it on. And so it's
the majority of the money.
right. And so if you're spending like that, it's irresponsible for you to not put $50 to $75 to the side per month for your child over 18 years with compound interest so that they can go to school freely.
Hey, baby.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or taking part of those refunds that you get from the IRS during tax season, like dropping 10% in that. You may not get that, but dropping 10% in that, you know what I mean? Based on your income. So it's just multiple ways. I think this is definitely a multi-tiered 2-part conversation on preparedness for college and how one views that from a mental point of view.
It's our point to teach the next generation that it's not a scam because now we're well equipped for them to go.
Correct.
We got the tools.
It benefited.
You have guidance.
Good.
Like mom and dad is going to push you to be an engineer. You got $75,000 over here. It's going to cost $75,000 for you to go to school. This is our plan. This is how we're paying for it. This is how you're paying for it. When you graduate school, as long as your grades are up, you're going to have $0 worth of debt. That can give somebody a different level of freedom, motivation, perseverance, that, hey, my parents saved for this for over 18 years. They told me, I see the money. This is now what I have to do to be successful.
Yeah, because it's a different feeling than seeing someone starts talking about school and tell like, oh, you're going to owe this money, this, that, and the third.
Yeah, how are you motivated?
And then you automatically know that my parents have this taken care of. So all those things that you're saying to kind of divert me, to scare me, like I can really go to the school that I want to because my parents have planned this situation out.
And I'm not going to let them down. I'm going to do what I have to do on the education side to make it happen.
Absolutely.
So good conversation, gentlemen. Is college a scam?